This is the brand new Volkswagen Transporter medium panel van. Its sharp new looks are a direct result of the T6.1 facelift program. But the question that's been running through my mind is, are the changes on the outside, the inside and under the bonnet really living up to the hype? Let's find out in his very own Vanarama road test. Before we get going, I'd just like to say that I sincerely hope you enjoy this video. So if you do, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel and click that bell to get notified whenever we post new content just like this. And if you are in the market for a brand new van, car or pickup truck, don't forget to head to vanarama.com, check out the leasing deals, jobs are good. So, as you might have been able to guess from the outside, there has been a little bit of an update. This is of course the T6.1, which of course is the facelifted version, which means, well, why don't we take a closer look? Because, well, you know what, not a lot's really changed. The badge might be a bit bigger, but there are some more lines. There's some lines going this way across the front, there's some lines coming down here on the bonnet. The headlights are a bit sort of, flatter, thinner, a bit more sporty looking. And if you follow me around the side, you'll see that they've written Transporter there, because that's premium. I'm just gonna let that one hang there. This is what everyone's been saying. That makes it premium. But I think this is what makes it premium. Look at this. This big open panel right here is just crying out for your business details to be splashed all over it. That is what absolutely turns this vehicle into the premium choice. Its profile. But do you want to ruin its profile? Actually, do you know what? While I'm asking these questions, I realise there are many other things that you should be considering instead about this vehicle. So as you can see, there have been some changes on the outside. But for a facelift, you are expecting just a little bit more. Obviously, you don't want a facelift to tinker too much with the practicality of the vehicle, because that would never do. But what you do want it to do is to affect some real change. So, what's the same? Well, aside from the fact that it's still very much a VW Transporter, you still have low and high roof options, and you can still get a short wheelbase and a long wheelbase version too. And that's about it. The loading bay stays exactly the same, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But there are some real differences. So, one of the things you're going to notice at the trim level that I'm at, which is Highline, this is sort of in the middle between Start Line and the Sport Line, top spec, top whack, absolute king of the trim levels. So you got Highline, this one in the middle, which gives you these two rather charming armrests, a very comfortable driving seat. But the general ambience inside the cabin is very nice indeed. But again, we'll get to that later. Let's talk about everything that's going on underneath the bonnet right now, which of course there are an awful lot of things going on. So VW's well-respected 2-litre diesel engine still sits under the bonnet of this vehicle. And these are turbo diesel engines. They power the majority of transporters that you'll find these days, and they offer a nice range of outputs from 84 horsepower right up to 204 horsepower. Unbelievable. But what is perhaps even more unbelievable is the fact that petrol engines were usually a bit of a staple of VW's commercial vehicle offering, but you're going to hear some crazy words coming out of my mouth. Petrol is out. Petrol is right out. There's no more petrol available. You can still find them, obviously, but they're not going to be making petrol engine powered versions of the VW Transporter anymore. And to be honest, I'm quite happy about that, because I've always thought that diesel is the bridging technology between standard fuel and electric. I think diesel and maybe diesel hybrids are the way forward, because diesel vehicles in the main are generally cleaner. This particular version is the manual gearbox mated to that 2-litre turbo diesel engine, and I've got to say the 6-speed manual is very nice and very responsive. I must admit, I am acutely aware of when it's time to change gear in the front of the VW Transporter. The engine noise is very good at indicating when you need to go up and down a gear, and when you do so, it's very smooth. Also, the sound baffling in the front of the Transporter isn't necessarily as good as I thought it was going to be, so it's very loud up here. So not only can I feel when I need to change gear, but I can absolutely hear when I need to as well. But That's no different than a lot of other medium vans on the marketplace right now. Some of them do have very noisy cabins, but that's just par for course. They're heavy vehicles driving on UK roads. So, nice drive, nice feel, nice engines. The VW Transporter, it's never been any different in that respect. So, it's comforting. And that is what I like about this latest version of the VW Transporter. It feels incredibly comforting and comfortable to drive. But another place where it has stayed the same is in terms of its practicality. And while payload may still sort of be a little bit of a sticking point for the VW Transporter, just take a look at the loading bay with me, and I think you'll see that it hasn't lost anything in the back. Because in my opinion, the back end is one of the places that the VW Transporter does its best work. Now, this version doesn't have the fantastic tailgate that can flip up and give you shelter in rain and shade in the summer, but this does have the standard barn doors, which is really nice to see on the back of a Transporter every once in a while. They open very nice and easily, and they click into place at 90 degrees, and it's that VW build quality kind of comes through. When you open a door and you know, there's no click, but there's a very definite kind of, you know, sort of notching in the housing underneath these door locks right here. As you can see, beautiful, beautiful quality VW ply lining. They always do the best ply lining, and we make sure that you get that free of charge if you lease the vehicle from us. Now, all the dimensions, the length, the heights, the widths between the arches and the general width, the heights of the doors, all that stuff is going to be appearing around me right now. Take it in. Doesn't it look absolutely amazing? One of the best things about this vehicle, while it's not the payload, as you'll see, is definitely its accessibility. And it's that VW build quality that I just want to double down on. Come with me round to the side sliding door and I'll show you what I mean. Something happens to me when I mess around with the side sliding doors on VW vehicles, and I think it's because there's no kind of, well, you'll know what I mean. When you open a door on maybe a lesser quality vehicle, you feel a kind of click, chunk sort of feeling underneath your hands when you pull a door. Not on a VW. Oh, it's just effortless. Sliding on those beautiful grease sliding bits, and it opens up revealing your nice little step. There's no loading lip, and things can just slide in effortlessly onto the ply lining from the side sliding door. But again, just take it all in. This beautifully accessible box-shaped loading bay is beautiful. Oh, sorry, I'm not allowed to say loading bay, am I? Because people go mental on LinkedIn when I call it loading bay. So let's call it load space, cargo area, cargo hold, whatever. All right, sorry about that. So, no differences in the back. It's still practical, it's still accessible, it's still very, very nice, hard-wearing and durable. Let's go somewhere where some changes have been made, and they are very visible. I'll stop teasing, let's go in the cabin. Hello, my way seems to be blocked by the second of two armrests. That is the Highline trim, baby. Right, let's get in. Okay, here we are, all nice and comfy in the front of the brand new Volkswagen Transporter. Now, as you can see, it looks pretty much the same. VW have to be given full credit for sticking rigidly to what they know works. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more kind of feely plastic in here, but as it is, it's a commercial vehicle, so I'm not going to quibble too much. There's lots and lots of very tough, hard-wearing fabric. At the Highline trim level, you do get this fantastic steering wheel though, which is really nice. And it is flat-bottomed as well, because, you know, of course, this is a major sports utility vehicle. It's not, it's a van. I don't understand the whole flat-bottomed steering wheel thing, but it's very nice. VW quality, they've obviously ripped it straight out of one of their cars and shoved it straight into the Transporter. It is absolutely covered in controls, from everything for your speed limiter and your cruise control on the left hand side here with your volume button, and on the right hand side you've got your menu sort of systems. You know, this is where you control everything here. You can skip your music around, and you can even use voice control. It's very nice and feely. There's some chrome, there's some nice shiny black plastic, and of course the horn works really well, and I've just scared the living bejesus out of my cameraman Toby. Sorry Toby, you alright? Yeah, he's fine. He's just nodding. He's fine. We'll get you some spare shorts a bit later. Yeah, cool. In between the rev counter and your speedometer is a nice driver information display. It's very little, and it looks like basically any VAG group vehicle has it. It's got all the usual information. Your odometer, your trip computer is there as well. You've got a clock, so you can always tell the time in like 5 different places in this vehicle, and you also get your range indicator, fuel consumption, all that kind of stuff. If we track along the dashboard, instead of going up onto the top to storage, because I have a little bit of an issue with the storage in here, but I'll get to that in a second. On this side, you've got your fantastic infotainment screen, which is actually a lot bigger than I've seen in most other VW vehicles, so it's great that they have decided to join the 21st century. Well done, guys, brilliant. You've got radio settings, media settings, volume controls, general menu, voice controls, your phone controls, app systems, and of course, one thing you do have to see is that you can hook your phone up through USB-C connections, which will allow you to use Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Fabulous. Below the infotainment system, you've got your hard knob controls for your climate controls, which is great. You've got your temperature control on the left, in the middle you've got your fan speed, and on the right hand side you've got your air direction selector, which you can have it blowing right in your face, you can have it blowing on your feet, you can have it blowing whichever way you want. You can have it just circulating around, and I believe they call that air conditioning, which would be wonderful. Anyway, so to the left of that you've got your hazard light button, and then you've got a load of blank buttons. Who knows what they're for? I mean, I have no idea what these other 4 could be used for, but hey, we'll best guesses in the comments below. Right, here we get to a point where I'm going to need one of my colleagues. My colleague is Colin, the coffee cup. No, Toby's saying no. Okay, I have a coffee cup here just to test this cup holder. Okay, so you go to any kind of branded coffee house. Let's just call it a coffee house like they do, when all people click to beat poetry. You just get your standard coffee cup here. This cup holder is at an angle, so if it's filled to the brim and you put it in like that, it's at it's only about 20 degrees, but that's probably enough to kind of float the coffee out the top and maybe even out the mouthpiece. If you go, if you have to brake hard or accelerate away, the liquid is still going to follow the rules of physics. So I imagine that coffee cup holder, or just cup holder, is actually for a bottle of water rather than anything else. However, I actually find that quite a convenient place to put a cup of coffee. Because my hand is always going to be going for the gear stick, that feels like a good place to reach down for a drink. But then a lot of people are going to say, isn't it just more convenient to do that when you're, fair enough, whatever, fine. You know what, comments. Put it in the comments and I might read them. You've also got a 12-volt thing, and that of course is the standard thing you'll get unless you go for a smoker's pack, which is just a dummy little socket cover, which is quite nice to see, instead of a little flick hatch. Could have had a flick hatch, but hey, whatever. You've also got some storage here. You've got a nice little sort of trough here. The issue I have with storage in the front of the new VW Transporter is there's no covers, so all of this stuff is open so things can go flying, and none of it has any rubberized bottoms, not even the cup holders. This is really shiny and really smooth. In fact, it's frictionless when it's actually just your hands against it. I don't know what it's going to hold on to. The storage in the doors is also really slippery, and I have to say, do you know what, I'll give them credit. The actual base door pockets are massive, and you will be able to fit a couple of litre bottles of water in there if you wanted to. But yeah, other than that, it's just, from a storage point of view, just a little bit disappointing. And it does raise that big question mark of the whole kind of like, this is meant to be a premium van, it's meant to have kind of everything you need. Well, where do they have covered storage? Well, I'll show you that in a minute. First of all, feast your eyes on that glove box. It's very small. Some of the major storage though is right here. Way! 2 massive, great big deep storage bins hidden under your bench seat. Well, there you go. Do you know what? I take it all back. There is some covered storage. And with the seat back together now, just take a look at the fabrics. I'm really pleased to say that VW has replaced the old 1970s wallpaper style sort of check fabrics that they used to put in the front of their commercial vehicles, and have put this in. I mean, I really like it. Even the little lozenge sort of shapes in the middle are two-tone. It's kind of light grey, dark grey against the dark grey and the light grey, and the grey and the dark grey and the light grey against the dark grey. It's really very good, but then to be fair, that's a whole motif in here. It's basically light grey against varying other shades of grey. So look, it's a very nice interior. It's got some cup holders, it's got one questionable cup holder, it's got some very up-to-date modern connections, it's got some okay storage, really deep door storage, nice fabrics, it feels a bit fresher in here. I gotta say, fair play. It's a facelift version, but it's taken some bigger strides than I would usually expect with a facelift. So fair play, VW. I think that's all I need to say about what's going on in here, so I'm gonna hand back to Tom now. Tom? Thanks, Tom. I'm back. So, how do we finish this one? Well, as I said at the beginning, I absolutely love VW Transporters. I don't know why, they're iconic. They've got a certain mystique about them. They're the vehicles that become camper vans. They've got the big badge at the centre. They just, I don't know, they are, as I keep saying, they're iconic vehicles. But the thing is, I think we now have to face the reality that we are 6.1 versions of this vehicle in, and there are certain areas where the premium edge is let down slightly. The cabins could always be more modern, the seats be a bit more comfortable, but it's nice to see some modern affectations. It's nice to see USB-C connections. It's nice to see a bigger infotainment system. But I do feel like maybe VW relies a little bit too much on that iconic edge. The question people have to ask themselves is the VW Transporter going to be practical enough, and is it worth the premium that I will inevitably pay? If the answer to that is yes, then you are going to find yourselves driving a fabulous commercial vehicle which feels comfortable and feels mature. If the answer is no, then there's plenty of other vehicles available on the market that will absolutely tickle your collective pickle. And with that, I am done.